I'd like to call our meeting to order. We're going to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask Alderman Betts to say our prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we are again truly grateful for the day of life that you have given to each of us, and grateful for your love and your protection for us. Ask you, Lord, that you be with those in our community who are grieving, those who are suffering because of illness. I pray, Lord, that you put a special touch in their hearts and their lives today. I ask you, Lord, as we take care of the city's business tonight, that help us, Lord, to make wise decisions. For we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Okay. I'm going to ask our clerk, if he would, to do roll call.
Town of Vidalia Board of Aldermen roll call for a special meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen dated May 30, 2019. Alderman Betts.
Present.
Alderwoman Dorey.
Present. Sorry, present.
Alderman Gardner.
Here.
Alderman McCoy.
Present.
Alderman Probst.
Here.
Mayor, let the record show a quorum of the board is present.
Okay. First item on our agenda, before I ask for a motion, I would like to just premise our meeting that this is a meeting where we introduce this ordinance, and tonight an adoption of it would put it in effect for the coming year. Our budget law requires us to have a budget in place before June 30th. And I just wanted to let y'all know that we wanted to get out ahead. We started out real early on this budget. And does anybody want a copy of it? I have an extra copy here. If anybody would like a copy, Ronnie, if anybody wants one, any hands? Okay. So I just want to say that tonight what we'll have is go through our public meeting. Once we have the public meeting, we will then open it up for questions that you might have, and then we will close that meeting, and then we will open up our council meeting for deliberation from the council for them to debate the budget and then have a vote. So,
Mayor,
yes.
before you get started, as a point of order, can we, let's limit the comments from the audience. 3-4 minutes at a time.
Okay, you want to put that in the form of a motion before, as far as a point of order?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
All right.
As a point of order, I want to limit comments to 3, maybe 3.5 minutes in the audience per person, so everybody get their chance to take a bite at the apple.
Okay. Motion been made, is there a second?
I got a question on that. I mean, if we got to discuss it,
that.
I say let's discuss it however long it takes. We made a special meeting to have.
I got a
it,
motion on the floor.
Go ahead on.
Second, it's been properly moved to second.
Who's second?
Second by Alderman Gardner.
Okay.
Okay. The question,
My question is, I mean, what does time matter? I mean, if somebody's got a question out there, however long it takes to discuss it, why we want to limit it?
well, most people will probably have a question. We've had the budget out there for 2 weeks. We have already fielded a lot of questions from several people that we've answered questions, and
Some people like it in public,
okay, well,
so that's just my comment.
okay.
My reason is, each person in here, if everybody in here wanted to speak, 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, whatever, would be a sufficient time for us to get their comments, get their input without an extended debate going on.
Motion made.
Motion made, second by Alderman Gardner. I'll do by roll call. We'll say
So what, is there a specific time? Are you going to say 3 or 3.5 minutes? What?
I think 3 would be
So the
good.
motion before the board is to limit public discussion to 3 minutes
Per person.
per person.
Correct.
Alderman Betts,
Yes.
Alderwoman Dorey,
No.
Alderman Gardner,
Yes.
Alderman McCoy,
Yes.
Alderman Probst.
No.
Mayor,
Mo-
the motion passes.
Okay.
I've got a question there. Not an addition to the agenda?
No, that was a point of order made by an alderman, so at this point, if I can have a motion to go into public hearing on the ordinance adopting the operating budget of revenues and expenses for the town of Vidalia, Louisiana for fiscal year 2019-2020. Do I hear that motion?
I so move.
Motion made by Alderman McCoy. Do I hear a second? Second. Second by Alderman Betts. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are now in public comment section. Anybody would like to stand up, please come to the microphone, and you'll have, the allotted time to ask the questions. And that would be the time,
Are you waiting on me?
or whoever. Okay.
This is kind of addressed to all of you, but I'm not sure how many of you may be aware that the Legislative Auditor Review Committee has a list that indicates that Vidalia is among 15 municipalities at risk of financial problems. There's an article in the newspaper printed in the Baton Rouge Advocate on February 9th of this year, and also repeated on February 12th in another local paper that outlined that. Seems to me that's a form of consideration for approving our budgets. Also, it outlines the reasons that they do that, and it's got all the characteristics that they're talking about are right here in Vidalia. We have lowered our sources of income. Our revenues have decreased. Our expenditures go up. Not only that, we've had the utility study that said that very same thing, that we're dependent upon our utilities supporting all the amenities that we have. We got some fine ones. However, I question whether any of them or all of them or just some of them are even necessary expenditures at this time when the budget also mentions that you don't know what our costs might be when we start digging up drainage lines and so on caused by the high water situation. I believe it'll be in millions of dollars, and I believe that the only way we are supporting our city right now is through what does produce some income, which is the hydroelectric fund, and which is the profit that we make on both the gas and the electricity. Those are big monies. Now, with that, we have an awful lot of more expenditures this time than we had last year. I don't think it's the appropriate time to be talking about increases across the board. That's pretty much a participation trophy like the Little League ball players get. It's not based on merit, and I understand giving raises on merit raises. I also gave to this office an attorney general opinion regarding the retaining pay, the pay that you use to retain the services of some of our employees. It's well known that our people make more money than the norm. We have more people working for the city than the norm. We can't keep going on like this. We're going to have a severe crisis. Perhaps it's right on us with this, whatever happens when that water goes down. I would propose that you give yourself time to consider all of these things, and then as how they might apply to your budget, and ask every department to find ways that they can reduce costs, particularly the non-producing departments. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ray. I would like to comment, I would like to answer your questions. Number one, you stated off the get-go that our revenues are down Ray, where do we get our revenues from? Who pays utility bills, which is our taxpayers, and which are people who pay utility bills? They are down because we're giving the break to the people for not lowering their utilities.
I disagree with that, Bud.
Okay, I'm sorry, but
This budget reflects the fact that our utilities, we're getting less income in this budget than we got current year, and on utilities that haven't changed by ordinance. I don't understand that, how, if we've got the same services that we apply, our customers base, then why take sanitation department and the revenues that are billed be less this time than last year?
are you saying raise the bills to the customers?
I'm not saying anything, I'm saying consider all of the questions before you produce a budget, particularly.
Ray, we've got a budget that we have worked on hard by every department head. We have analyzed all of our, let me speak as far as this. We have got a wonderful budget here that we are showing a surplus on. This has been a culmination of 3 years of hard work. You know, some people would say, well, you know, yeah, we didn't have money for 2 years because it was hard to go through and pay all the obligations we had to get to where we've got to. And now we've turned the corner and things are looking great. We've got a $2 million surplus. We got money in there to fix our streets. We got money to work on our sewers. And we've already got the $700,000 plus rebate to pay back to our utility customers. This is all in this budget. And this is us operating our town. So I disagree with the words. I've not seen a column where anybody has looked at Vidalia and said, oh, they're in financial straits. I've not seen that, so I don't know what you're reading or where you got it from. I'd love for you to produce it to me at a later
I'd be
date.
happy to give you a link to that article, and you can look it up on the Baton Rouge Advocate website, February 9th of this year.
Okay.
And it's there.
Okay.
It references the method that the legislative auditor review board uses, and Vidalia is right there smack in the middle of it. And it does mention things like replacing sewer lines
Okay.
and water washouts and things of that nature, which we are experiencing.
I understand.
We've got
And,
roadways all over this town that need repaired.
and I appreciate that, but I appreciate the comments, but also one other point we're going to move on to anybody else that's got questions is, we have decreased this budget every year, operational expense, every year since we've been in office. And that's just a fact. That's not fiction, that's fact. And Deborah, yes or no, have we not done that? It's fact. That's not. So anyway, now any other questions? Anybody else like to come and address the council or make a comment? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Lynch?
You said address your next questions about the budget. And it's probably my fault that I didn't walk up here and look at the budget. But it's hard to address something that you haven't seen. We won't have any questions until y'all start discussing it and making us aware of where we were and where we're going and how we're gonna get there.
Well, I mean, it's been out there 2 weeks, we've advertised it, everything's been done that we're supposed to do to make it available to the public. I'm sorry, I mean, a budget like this, you're not gonna be able to sit here and go down line by line. You won't ever get finished if you let everybody just sit and do it. I'll be glad to take as much time you want. You come in, I'll sit down with you and explain all you want to. And I really don't mind it, and you know I will.
But I know we will have questions as y'all discuss it. But how many times y'all want to discuss it before? Anyway, we're gonna have some questions.
Okay,
Maybe not now, but we will have some.
okay, all right. Anybody else would like to add something to the,
Well, just make one more comment.
and this is going,
Along the lines that she's speaking of, here we are asking questions of concern to the public. This is a public hearing time, and right off the bat, you're limiting the time that you can get an opinion from someone else that may affect your consideration. And I say may affect it.
okay.
You're very likely going to get everything that you put in there for whatever reason you've got. But we, as the public, don't get opportunity to speak back at you and say, why are you doing that? Why are you taking such a ridiculous step?
Okay.
It is ridiculous.
Okay, see, that's your opinion, Ray. I got a lot of people that don't think it is. Okay, thank you, you're through for tonight. Thank thank you. Anybody else would like to speak?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Okay, motion made to close public hearing. Are there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Betts. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Let the record reflect Alderman Probst was a negative vote on that. Okay. Item number 2 on our agenda is board consideration and adoption of an ordinance adopting the operating budget of revenues and expenses for the town of Vidalia, Louisiana for the fiscal year 2019-2020. And again, keep in mind, this is a council-only question time, and we will, you know, I won't recognize any questions from the floor at this time as we debate up here before we go to a vote, if it comes to that. So, the floor is open for discussion.
Council. It's up here now. It's up here.
Yeah, council, we're here. Item
I
number
thought we
2.
had to move in order to discuss.
Do we? Council,
Sir.
we need some action to discuss this?
I'll make a motion, we adopt the budget.
Okay, a motion made by Alderman Betts, we adopt a budget. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Okay, second by Alderman McCoy.
Now there's
Now,
discussion.
we'll go into any discussion. Any questions?
I do.
Okay.
I really just have a statement. I didn't come up with a big binder and walk in here and scare all y'all this time, because it doesn't do any good. The statement that I want to make is several times in reading the narrative and in talking about the budget, we keep saying we don't know what kind of repairs and damages we're going to find once the water goes down. We are experiencing an unheard of flood, the length of time. During this time, we've also experienced heavy rainfalls where we've got streets that are constantly backing up, streets that have not had drainage issues in the past are experiencing it because we're at this high water event. And there's just nowhere for it to go. And I know that, you know, that's a Mother Nature thing. There's no way that we could immediately fix that in those situations. But in an instance that we're in right now, that statement holds true. We have no idea what we're about to face. And I would think that this board and this town would say, given the lack of knowledge that we have, not that we're ignorant to it, not that we haven't tried to get an estimate, not that we haven't done the due diligence, there's no way of knowing the financial burden that we're fixing to experience. Let's put a spending freeze on all unnecessary purchases. If it is not something that we absolutely cannot operate this town without, we can't move a truck, we can't do something with, let's put a spending freeze on capital outlay. Now, I'm not talking about raises. These guys have been here for 3 years. They're getting a 3% raise. That's 1% a year. I'm not talking about that. You've earned it. The cost of living raise. No question. I'm talking about the extras, the wants, the what is your wish list. Let's continue to do what y'all have been doing and trimming every month and saying, what can we do without? So that if when this water goes down, we realize we have a lot more than, you know, $650,000 worth of street repair and $550,000 worth of sewer repair. We're in a place that we can take action and immediately begin to fix those. We don't have to put it on well, we only have money for these 3 streets this year or these 3 sewer lines. If it comes back that all we needed was the $1.2 or $1.5 million to fix everything, great. Then we can look at these wish lists, and then we can get the things that are not absolutely necessary to run this town. We're going in blind to something we have never experienced, and I think we need a safety net in place. We need to expect the worst. That's
Okay.
my statement.
I would like to make a comment about this budget. You're showing a surplus right now at this, but the capital outlay, the surplus is over $2 million, 2.3 million that is not earmarked for anything. We also have $650,000 on street, over $500,000 is set on sewer. That is in this budget. That is for us to get started on no matter what happens. And I hadn't even mentioned what's not in this budget is how we have turned the finances of this town right now. We're sitting on over $5 million in investments and CD money and money from the sale of Project Blue that we have worked hard to get these monies. We have somewhere to get those monies. We don't have to beg for it. We have it. It's there. And so for us, this is a budget for us to get started right away, because regardless of whether we're going to fix, there's streets that need fixing. There's sewer lines we've seen them around Johnny Mays and different places that have collapsed. We want these monies now earmarked for it, so we don't have to come back, that we're going to get right on these things. And now those others come up, we'll address them at that time. But we have money to do that. And what we're doing, yeah, you're right, we don't know what it is. But this is a budget for us to operate our town for next year, and this is a good budget. And also, these other things come up, as they show up, we'll come back here and say, hey, we got to go further. But this is a good budget. I think our town should be proud of the work that this reflects, that this gives us. And as far as a spending freeze, we've almost been operating this town like it's a spending freeze for 3 years. You can ask these departments, they have worked hard, scrimped, done without for 3 years, and they've worked hard. And that's why I say each year we've decreased these expenses, operational expenses, and it's in, you go to the legislative audit final report and look at it, each one, the expenses. It's in there, it's black and white. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about capital outlay. You're talking about operational expenses. There's a differential between those two. I'm talking about the capital outlay. I'm talking about running fiber to a business for $92,000 when we could use that money to repair a street. That's what I'm talking about. That's not something that is absolutely necessary in this town right now. I'm talking about capital outlay. And we have had capital outlay every year. Yes, you have done a great job in trimming the budget. I give you 100% props on that. You have. This is an emergency situation where we have no idea what we're facing, and what we should not do is say we've worked so hard and we've got $5 million in place, and then we have some catastrophic thing, and then we don't have that anymore. That's what we don't want. We don't want to leave this place any worse than we are at this moment right now.
I don't think we are. I disagree. I think again, we're standing in good shape, financial shape, and there's also things that I can't allude to right now that the town has been approved for on some things that's being, I'd love to talk about it, but right now, but it's not going to affect this budget. I don't want to get off on that. But you're duly noted. I think we've got a good budget for us to operate our town. This is for the coming year. So, again, I would be glad any of the residents later that want to talk about this, I'll sit in my office as long as you want and go over the detail with you. But I promise you, I'm very proud of what we've got in this budget right here. And and we're prepared for that. We're prepared to meet those challenges head on. That's what I said in my opening statement of this letter to you guys, that, we are a resilient community. We're going to fight. We're going to come out on top. We got a bright future, and I believe it. I can't help what the Lord sends with a high river, but we're prepared to meet it head on, and we've got the people to do it in every department. And I got complete confidence in all of our workers and employees in the job they do around our town. And so I'm glad, I'm proud that they're getting the raise. They deserve it. Somebody's going around saying, well, this mayor ain't give you a raise in 2 or 3 years. Well, that's because we didn't have any money because it was all gone. So we've worked this hard, and that's why I'm proud to give them this, and also to move forward to be able to make these improvements, infrastructure improvements. So.
How much money do you have set aside in the budget to fix the drainage issues that we have in town?
Right now, the $500,000.
That's for the drainage, or is that for sewage?
That's for sewage. That's the sewage.
Okay, so what about for like you've got a lot of ditches, like for example, behind my office. I've pointed that out before. You've got an alleyway ditch there that is completely grown up into the power lines. Mm-hmm. What do you have in place? And the only reason I bring this up is because of the water situation. What do we have in place to start moving this water out of our streets and out of our neighborhoods to prevent flash flooding in the future?
Well, right now with the ground saturation, if you get any kind of rain goes into the system, it's going to go directly into our. I see what you're saying. Look, but that's not something that's budgeted. We have people on staff that clean up alleys. We worked in District 2. There were several alleys over there we've worked and cleaned up, and you can see all the way down and they're clean. Those issues, I don't remember you ever calling me over about look behind there. I've never been back there to look, but if there's an issue, bring it to our attention, we'll look at it, we'll put assets around there to clean those out. But I've got to be made aware of it if I'm not told.
And I did, and I was told that line belonged to the cable company, and
You talking about a communication line or a ditch?
I'm talking about the trees that are growing up in that ditchway between Carter Street and, what is that, Azalea?
I'll have to
Mill?
look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anyway,
it's enough.
you know, the point is, I think that we should be focusing a lot more right now in making sure that if we have this type of weather event in the future, this board and this administration has put plans and dollars in place to make sure that the residents of this town are protected.
We have and we are.
Okay?
Excuse me, I can answer that question, please.
Well,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Seth, I can't allow that if we're not opening it up to everybody, so I'm sorry. I mean, I'll be glad to, I'm sure she'll be glad to hear your comment afterwards.
Absolutely.
So, I'm sorry.
I
But
want to
One
say.
question, one point I gotta make. Are you through, Sabrina? You through?
Before,
Okay, go ahead, Ron.
before you go, I do want to say this, that the statement that this belongs to somebody else and somebody else should be doing work to this, we're going to have to get past that. We got a canal that's jammed up. We know that the police jury is responsible for it, but we got to get that cleaned up. And I mean, the taxpayers pay for that,
they do.
and we can't seem to get any movement. And it's not that we hadn't tried, we just can't seem to get any movement from the police jury. But to kick the can and say, well, we can't do it because it belongs to someone else. Everything within the city limits is our baby. But in an extended way, you can't go as far as what we call Vidalia and just stop, because that canal is jammed up so bad. You know, we had to do on the Industrial Park Road because of the canal being jammed up on one side, that there was hardly no water on there, but it was flooding the Vidalia side. So I think what Alderwoman Dore is saying, we probably gonna have to man up on some things that aren't 100% ours to stop us having to go through what we're going through. Now, we got a pretty good idea when she's supposed to crest. We don't know the damage. When the Mississippi River is supposed to crest, I call her she. And
They pushed it to the 13th, by the way.
they did. Okay.
59 foot, still holding at 59.
Well, the damage that's been done since the river's been up, I don't know if catastrophic is even a strong enough word to use, because I have people in my district that walk out in water every day. And the only thing I can tell them is the river. You know, I got a hole on my end of Riverside. My street is completely torn up. John Dale is a problem. You know, so, and I think each one of us is gonna want their little piece of the pie addressed.
We have a list of streets, they've been identified, and that we're going to start with. Riverside, Wilson, John Dale is on those lists, and there's several that are going to be completely overlaid. And I think the estimate that we are working with right now is somewhere it's going to be around 148 to 158,000 per mile to overlay and strip and do that. Don't hold me to that, but that's just an estimate that we're working with. And if more streets need it, then we'll come back and ask for more money to do those streets. But our citizens deserve good streets to drive on, and, you know, good sewers. And that's one of the things we're gonna start getting right is our infrastructure. It's an aging infrastructure. The sewers are over 40 years old. And it's gonna take some rehab on them, and also we're seeing some, again, I wish I could tell y'all more about some things that's going on state legislature-wise, but I can't, that some funds are going to be available for us maybe in the future. that to do some things. So, and to bring one other comment about our fiber, a lot of the things that we've done, you know, talking about fiber, how important fiber is. There was one thing Bobby, and he does such a wonderful job, Bobby Paul, our head of our IT. Since 2005, there was a line that was active for the town. It was costing us, I think it was something like $30,000 a year with AT&T. It was discovered here recently, and Bobby ran fiber that it automatically, whatever was needing to communicate, and it cut that cost out. So those investments that he's making fiber-wise, there's a lot going on with those that you just don't see that he does, and I want to appreciate that because we're lucky to have this man, the asset that he's been to our town. Matter of fact, he drives back and forth from almost St. Francisville every day back and forth to work. So thank him for his commitment to our town and what he does for us. And that's everybody, all these employees that's out here that you see. Thank y'all for your work. I appreciate it. Any other comments?
Now, I got comments.
Okay.
How many streets have you overlaid? How many sewers have you replaced since you've been in office?
None. Zero.
Okay. So now we're gonna start.
Yes.
Just 3 years down the road, we didn't do any, but now we're gonna start.
Tommy, you knew we didn't have the money.
Well, you could make money, but you gotta put it into where you feel like it's important. But now it's important, okay? That's the first comment.
What's cause now we got money, we're gonna put it where it's
Okay,
important.
that's the
on our
first
street.
comment, but now it's real important. Now, the next comment is,
Okay.
if we didn't have that $4 million banked, well, how much money would we have in the bank that we got from the sale of that building?
1.5 million of that is from the sale of the building.
That's right. So we're banking on 4 million that we got one time only. So that's 4 million we got one time only. So if something does happen, we have to spend that money. Where are we gonna get the rest of it?
There's what, you didn't use it, I mean, there's still more money available.
Okay.
You're gonna have that.
Because we were borrowing money before the sale of the building.
That's right, we were borrowing money, and we've managed our way using credit. We don't owe anything on any of that debt. We've got $1.5 million we got able to put in the bank.
Okay.
We also have those other funds. There's $400,000 when we pay that first royalty payment that's still sitting in the fund that could be used for capital improvements, which I feel like should be for infrastructure. The second thing is this year when we pay that $700,000 to the people back in the rebate, that $700,000 is also going to be available for capital improvements if we need them. So yes, we're prepared to take these on. We didn't have the money to do it unless we borrowed it at the time, and we've managed ourselves through that. Regardless of what you think or say, we're in a great position to start tackling our needs in this town.
Okay.
So,
That's good to know. But again, we need to remember, things could happen. And I feel like if we know it's gonna happen, why would we come back and add it to the budget? Why don't we put it in the budget now? Because $600 and some thousand, is, from what I've understood from Mark, ain't gonna even close to cover what we got a problem with.
You don't-
Already knowing problems, that's not when the river goes out, that's knowing problems that we've got. Why wouldn't you go ahead and put it in this budget?
Tommy, you don't know what it's going to be.
But you could a lot more than 600,000, because I feel like it's gonna be more than 600,000.
You feel like that. And that's
That's
fine.
my feeling.
But if it comes in more than that, I'll come here and say, hey, guys, we have this much more to do. Y'all,
That's what we've always done, always come back and get it again. Why won't we put it in when we know it?
I don't know, I guess, I don't know, but I don't get that thinking, I don't get that logic. We think to handle what we're gonna need immediately, we have budgeted to do that. And if it comes out to be more things, and hopefully it's not. And then,
From what I'm hearing and what y'all commented on, it's definitely gonna be more than 600,000. There's 10, from what I understand, at least 10 you know of.
10.
They've got 10 sewer lines that have to be dug up. That's not counting streets.
we got $500,000 in sewer, and we got $650,000 in streets. And if we need more, we'll come back, and we got someplace to go and get it. We got money to get without borrowing it. But, so,
Comments done.
okay.
Okay. I just would like to say that regardless to the effect of the high river, I had streets per se in my district that needed repair, and I know it was about $800,000 that was out there for us to use for those streets, and we turned it down, and that was free money that we did not have to come up with. So now, due to the fact that we have damages also from the river, we have those funds that we put a lot into the side to use when we had prior money that we wouldn't have to use that was there prior to that we voted down on, and now we're using our own money for things that could have been done in the past.
That grant was for one street only.
That wasn't even for.
That
But
wasn't
but
for-
regardless to the fact of the one street only, it was in my district, I know, but that's still one of the streets that's on the mayor's list to be worked on.
Riverside and Wilson.
But that wasn't even anything to do.
But
with
it still
what
was shot
going
down
on.
by the
It was
board,
shot
and
down.
now we gotta come back to the fact
Yeah, it sure was
and
shot
use
down.
money that we operate off to get it, the
But don't
same
even
streets,
compare that to that,
to
Robert.
get the same
That don't
streets
even
that was
compare
discussed previously fixed.
That don't even compare to that. That's
It's
not
a
even about
comparison
that.
because we could have had that money from the beginning
Not for that.
to use.
That was to widen the road and make a turn lane for
It
the
still was
truck.
repairs for the street.
Yeah, but that
However
was-
you look at it, it was repairs.
Whatever
Okay.
you say is what you think too.
No, it's what I
Yeah,
know.
that's what I think.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? Y'all ready to take it to vote?
Mayor, can I say one thing about
Sure.
I just want to make sure that we get the same raise everybody else gets, our salary and wages on budget is not reflected. Ours actually going down.
I can't hear you, Joey. Say that.
Come
Our
forward.
budget is going down on the salaries and wages,
Come up here.
and I just want to make sure we are getting that 3%.
Yes, that's figured in there.
We hadn't lost any people. We are down too, but we plan on replacing them. We're at 34 people now.
With the number of people you got right now, when Deborah did the budget, and with those raises, that's what that is. That's what's in the budget.
I mean, we're replacing those two people that we lost.
But they were on board when this was done.
I just don't know how it's going down.
It went over
And we get 3% raise.
because of the overtime and the holiday pay. That did
Okay.
not get picked up.
Okay.
And y'all went down holiday pay, which, it was the overtime and it wasn't the holiday pay, it was the overtime and the reserve pay. And right now, with the reserve, we do, all the parades, we gotta have everybody working. We do all of the, Jim Bowie, balloon racing, all the crossing guards, school, in the mornings, that's all reserve pay. And what you got in there now is about half is what we need to continue doing all that. And also, you cut out all of the overtime, and, I mean, we're gonna have overtime. I think we're the only department that you cut out all the overtime to the police department. And I don't know if that's gotta be a mistake made. If we get the same rate everybody else, why did our salary and wages go down?
What you trending to come in at this year?
2.3 million.
Okay.
And when we had our meeting,
Now, you and I had that conversation,
yeah,
and that just happened to be salaries.
no, I got it right here.
You had it right there the other day.
I got every budget in mind from 2016 to now. And my department has decreased over $800,000 since we've been here 3 years. And when we had our meeting, I don't think you were there with the board, with the mayor and Deborah, we looked at it, and I said, I want everything the same as it is now, plus we're getting our 3%, but I was happy with a 3.3 budget. I mean, that's $800,000 that we went down since we've been here.
Joel, your budget's 2.7.
No, that's after, that you're not reading the bottom number, you're trying to make it higher than what it is.
I'm reading your total expended.
That's after supplemental pay, you gotta add that in, because y'all,
Okay.
today you don't pay that. It's
Okay.
2.3 million.
Okay, 174,000 is supplemental pay, so you take that off 2.7, and that's only really,
I got it right here. I mean, after you take out all the donations that we get, supplemental pay, all that goes back into the budget and lowers it. I mean, if you add supplemental pay, like we've been doing, it makes my budget higher, but today you don't pay that, the state pays that. You got to deduct
Well,
that.
we got that as revenue on the top side. I'm just looking at, just total expenses still, 2.7
No.
is,
Total expense is 2.3, everybody.
okay. We'll take, all I'm saying, the total expenditures on the budget side are 2.7. You can deduct off the revenues 250,000 and total.
It's 2.391450 after revenues and expenditures. Yeah, it was 2.7.
I got that's 2.462.
Total expenditures is 2.7, but after you take out operating transfers in and out, it's 2.3. 2.3.
I didn't look at transfers at all. I'm just looking at
It's
total.
actually what we cost the town is 2.3. Everything else is given back to the town, either from the state, donations, or grants. You know, we get grants too. Every time we get a grant, it makes my budget higher. But at the end, you got to take it back out.
Well, we got the grants in there.
All right, that's what makes it 2.3.
Well, right now, we're showing $1,000 on miscellaneous revenues, contributions $3,500, witness fees $500, bond fees.
This is
Joe, that's last year's budget, Joe, you're looking at. You gotta go over here this column.
It's 2019, that's what we are.
No, we're talking about 2019-20 on the far right, over here. On that.
He asked me what was my budget this year. And it's 2.3.
Was you talking about last year or this year?
I was talking about what it was.
What we
How
fixing to
close
approve?
was he? No, how close was he on the last budget? And I went to see him and he told me he was gonna come in at 2.3.
And that's what it's at. This year, this year you got 2.336. What I'm operating on right now is 2.391. I said, if we get the raise, and everything else is supposed to be the same,
Well,
how is it not reflected?
Well, Deborah's saying that it was the holiday pay.
And the holiday pay.
And what we're doing, we're taking away all the overtime and all my reserve pay almost, and giving us a raise, but I mean, we still got to have that.
I know that the overtime primarily last year was because you didn't have.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Excuse me, I know the overtime last year was due primarily because you didn't have the dispatcher, you know, because you had to pay extra people to pay them overtime to do that. So that's one reason that you kind of think this year you have a full-time dispatcher, so you wouldn't have that overtime.
That don't matter if you got to use or lose.
Right.
I mean, they're still gonna take off.
Well, that's,
And
I
we're
don't know
not
how
like
you
any other
schedule it.
department for where, when you take off, you know, us in the fire department, if somebody takes off, somebody's got to take the place. We can't just say, okay, they got to pay off. So somebody's got to either come in as a reserve, or we got to pay overtime.
Right.
Now, I would love to not have to use the lose. That would be great, but we do.
Joey, what is it that you would like to, because I mean, I see what you're saying. What you're saying is that last year, the fiscal year we're in right now, for employee expenses, you were at 2.3. This year, we're saying you're getting a 3% raise and your employee expenses are 2.2.
It's going down.
Right, so I understand exactly what you're saying. What, as the chief of police, what do you think that number should be?
It should be what it was this year plus 3%. I mean, it's like you're giving us a raise, but you're taking away something else to justify the raise. I mean, as a department as a whole, we're not getting a raise. Because we're still, when somebody takes off, we got to cover that shift. Now, I would love to sit down and talk about, you know, something different than the use or lose it in our department. Because I don't think we're coming out.
Well, that's managing people and time. You got vacations are for a reason. And you can't just let one department, huh?
If that's the case, I mean, we're gonna need that overtime. We're gonna need that back in our budget, and it's not in there.
Even though you don't have a dispatcher, even though you got your dispatcher. I mean, he's just talking about normal overtime is gonna be what he said it's gonna be, so you can't just take the overtime away from him. I mean, you said he took away because whoever made the budget took it away because he had a dispatcher missing. Well, he's telling you he's got the dispatcher back, but you got to use it or lose it, which makes sense. You got people that gotta be off, no matter what, you gotta replace them, just like the fire department. They eating it up. They eating up big time overtime over there.
And see,
But,
we cut back to, I think, somewhere between 30 and 40,000 a year of overtime.
Right.
And that's deep bare minimum. And I'm trying to get people to come into work for K-time,
Right.
and it's getting hard, it's getting tough, because they don't want to work for K-time. They want that money.
Can you really do that K-time? Is that legal? Wage an hour
Overtime, but
law?
it's getting harder every time we need somebody to come into work.
I don't know if you can do that, Joe.
Yes, but I got a statement.
What's the board's pleasure?
You gotta have his
Well-
overtime.
We gon'
Add the overtime back in there.
By my calculations on what you said, what you were asking for, that's $106,000 that you'd like added back into your employee costs. And I say it that way because that's salary and benefits. That may not be an exact figure, you know, but that's what I've come up with. So what you're asking for is $106,000 be added back in.
Does that sound right, Joe?
I mean, I hadn't put the exact pencil to it,
Yeah.
but I mean, if it's 3% more, yeah.
Let me ask you a question. You're not gonna like this question. Also in the budget, you are asking for $20,000 for cameras, right? And that's gonna be like was it 5 years? 20,000 over the next 5 years? One of the things that I'm concerned with is the lack of revenue that the police department is bringing in. We got a lot of speeders. I'm not saying that the police department is not doing their job. That always gets twisted that way when I make a statement. How difficult would it be if we're giving this new equipment, we gave the new cars, we're giving the cameras, and I understand the need for them, it's protecting the police officers, and it's also protecting the general public. So we've got a double-sided protection on this one. How difficult would it be for you to increase your revenues in order to take the burden off of the taxpayers for all of this updated equipment?
I don't think it would be a good move to use your police department to bring in revenue for a town. I know several towns that do that, and everybody goes around them.
Right?
And I don't want to do that to our businesses locally.
You also have to look, I agree with that. We don't want to become a speed trap that everybody avoids, but we also want to make sure that it's safe to travel. And we've got a lot of stop sign runners. We've got a lot of loose dogs. We've got a lot of violations around town that we could get revenue just by enforcing the law without pulling over everybody that pulls through.
I mean, I agree, but you're saying safe. We are the safest town anywhere probably in a 100-mile radius.
Right.
We hadn't had a single traffic fatality in 3 years in Vidalia City limits.
Right?
We hadn't had, and that includes somebody getting run over or in an accident. And most of our accidents are in parking lots where the speed limit is 5 miles an hour.
Right?
And as far as tickets, Frankie, what's our normal ticket now?
Talking about what it is, speeding
I'm talking about average month.
average month. Yeah,
We average probably between 50 to 60 a month.
Speeding tickets.
Speed ticket. Just
What kind of revenue does that create?
That's not, dogs, cats, that's strictly speeding.
What revenue does that create, Joey? What's your average revenue then coming in?
That's a question for,
The judge, that's a question for the judge, right?
What do you think, Scott?
Repeat the question.
How much revenue do we generate off of that coming through your court?
One, you talking about?
On a monthly basis, what's your average?
It just
For
depends,
fines.
Because mine is based on the adjudications, it's not based on the number of tickets written in any one given month. So, I mean, you talk about every speeding ticket's approximately $190 fine, and that is 54, and the rest is court costs get divvied up to the various agencies in the state, my office and the marshal's office. So it's hard to say. Some months we may transfer like $3,500, $3,600. Some months it may be a little more, some months it may be a little less.
So I'm just asking average, or maybe an idea, $3,500 a month or something?
Something like that, probably.
That's just on speeding, you got dog fines, you got
That'd be on all.
everything?
You know, whether it be, it's any kind of adjudication.
Okay.
Any kind of
What I'm saying,
All right.
is, you know, I just wanna make sure we're getting the same.
We got you. We got it.
everybody else.
Yeah.
We got it.
I think today is a very safe town. I think that's why the majority of people live here.
Yep.
Is because it's safe. We got safe schools. We got a SRO in every school. Nobody around here has that, but we do. People move here because of that. People live here because it's safe. And, you know, we don't wanna get below that, public perspective that this ain't, it's not a safe town. So I want the same amount of money is what everybody else is getting.
Deborah, what was the amount that you come up with?
Well, you and I talked before, and it was like at 80. He was
80,000?
Yeah, because he wanted.
Okay,
let's see, was it-
80,000, that would make your budget, with all your income giving you benefit for that, make it 2.5 million. 2.5, 154.
That's where you're at? That's what you thinking?
80,000 from 2.39, I mean, added to that.
Added to that.
It's well, I took your total expenditures and I gave you credit for your total supplemental pay, everything that we've got proposed revenues that you got, 250,000. That brings it to 2.4 million, 2.435. Add 80, that's 2.51.
I mean, I'm gonna have to have more time to look at it,
I mean,
but, I mean, it's,
that's what it is. I mean,
I'd be okay with granting you the $106,000 extra to make sure that your officers can take time off when they need to, that you have other officers there, that you know, have the means to still patrol the town quadrants that you have. I mean, if you want 106, a little bit more than that 80,000, so you can feel comfortable with it, I don't have any problem with that.
I mean, like I said before, just because it's there don't mean we got to spend it.
That's
Right.
right. That's
But
kind of been the thing.
Every year I've been under my budget.
Budget-wise.
Every year I've had a good budget, and I've been under it. And, you know, since we've been here, it's been roughly 800,000 or better that we've deducted. We're down to right now, I've got 34 people, but we're at max level, we're 36. And, you know, I don't know where y'all feel comfortable being, but we're comfortable at that number.
council?
Do we need a motion here?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we add the 106 to the police budget
I
to
second.
cover overtime
And the raise.
and the raise.
Raise in there, just,
Budget, yeah, it's already in there.
Yeah, raises.
all right, strictly would be the 106.
All right, cover overtime as needed due to the use it or lose it, basically is what's causing that.
All right.
And your
Motion was
reserve.
made by Alderman Probst, there a second, was by Alderman McCoy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any other questions, Joel? Okay. All right. Council, what's your pleasure now?
I make a motion that we vote on this.
Okay.
I'd like to ask one thing. I'd like to see you add another $500,000 for street repair within this budget. If we don't spend it, we don't spend it. But let's have it in there in case we need it. I'm not asking you to cut anything. I'm not asking you to take anything away from anybody. I'm asking you to let's make sure that it's within the budget.
Whatever y'all's pleasure is. I mean, if it needs fixing, we're gonna fix it, but, I mean,
Well, good. Then we'll have the money in there and we don't have to have a special meeting to amend it.
so it's the pleasure of the council.
To the street, right? Did you say
Street.
street?
For street repair.
It'd be $1,200,000. $1,250,000.
50.
$1,250,000. Now, you want to put that in the motion?
I so move.
Motion made by Alderman Cordy, here a second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Gardner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, I didn't get that.
Okay.
You made the motion?
I did.
Okay.
What's 500,000?
Second by was Alderman Gardner, I think. And everybody was, and aye.
Got it.
Now, Alderman McCoy, you have a
Let's
motion?
roll it, let's roll it on
question.
Okay,
you got a question?
No.
I call for the vote.
okay, you calling for the vote. Do I hear a motion that we adopt this budget?
I make that motion.
Motion made by Alderman McCoy. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Betts. Okay. Let's do a roll call on adopting this budget.
Motion before the board is adoption of ordinance adopting the operating budget revenues and expenses for the town of Vidalia, Louisiana for the fiscal year 2019-2020. Alderman
Including,
Betts,
including amendments
As amended.
therein,
as
yeah.
amended.
Yes.
Alderman Betts, yes. Alderman Dorey,
Yes.
Alderman Gardner,
Yes.
Alderman McCoy,
Yes.
Alderman Probst.
No.
Mayor, let the record show the motion passes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Make a
Thank y'all for
motion to adjourn.
attending. And I hear a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank y'all very much.